Hello and welcome to Media Club Podcast. Last month we talked about senior years of high school, and today we'll be discussing our experience with sports. And before we begin with today's topic, we're going to introduce our speakers by mentioning your name, grade, school, and answering the question, what is your favorite sport to watch or play? My name is Jenny. I'm a sophomore at Sun Hills High School, and my favorite sport to watch is the basketball game. Anyone can go.
Hi, my name is Scarlett. I'm a sophomore at Sunny Hills, and my favorite sport to do is dance.
Hi, my name is Yuna, and I'm a junior at Yorba Linda High School, and my favorite sport is badminton.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm a junior at Valley Christian High School, and my favorite sport is tennis.
My name is Kaylin Kim. I'm a junior at Sunny Hills High School, and my favorite sport is also tennis.
Okay, great. And first question, we have how many of you play sport or have played a sport? Scarlett, you're the answer.
I dance.
Anyone else play sports before?
I played tennis for 3 years at school.
I play golf, but I don't do it at my school. Yeah.
Kaylin, do you play any sport?
Wait, no.
I've played tennis, and then I also used to do like swimming and dance.
And what made you start sport? Anyone? Scarlett?
I started dancing when I was like 5 years old, and it just continued.
I started because of my dad. Yeah.
And what do you enjoy about it? What are some benefits of learning a new sport? Like how do you manage time and your mental health while playing sports?
I really like playing like tennis as a team at school. I think tennis like helped me a lot to make more like efficient.
Okay. What are some downsides of playing a sport? Kaylin, do you want to share?
Yeah. I think some downsides are like obviously like you don't have time to do other things, and also something might be if you're playing more of like an active sport, like you might have injuries.
And I agree with Kaylin, and also want to add on that my coach, she always says like sports you need to like practice and stuff, and because we're always so busy, we can sometimes practice, and you get really sad when like you go to practice and you're not very good and you're worse than like your previous one.
Then did you ever like regret choosing the sport that you played or like just playing sports in general? Julie, maybe?
For me, I don't. I think my like playing tennis at school was like biggest good part of my memory, so I don't regret. But I think there's some disadvantage from sports.
And does it cause you to have any less time for academics? Because I don't play sports, but when I see my friends that do play sports, like they start their homework at like 9 and it's really hard for them to like sleep. So like it really seems like they have less time to like study and like for quizzes and tests. Did you experience anything like that?
I really agree with that because if you had like practice every single day, it like ends at like 6 or 7, and if you guys have like games, it ends like 8, 9. So if you get home, it's like 10 o'clock, and it gets so tired, and if you like starts to study, like I have no time to like for study or like have a homework done. So it might, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And do you think every child should be expected to play a sport at some point in their lives? Kaylin?
I feel like yeah, because it's a good experience. It might take some time to like find out what sport you like the best, but then I feel like it's important because sorry, not only do you need exercise, but also like you should learn to have like good sportsmanship.
Anyone? Yeah, you can go.
I really agree with that. I think sports can make people to learn about like teamwork or like good sportsmanship, like respect for others.
Anyone disagree? Like anyone think that it shouldn't be like required or expected to try a sport?
I don't necessarily disagree, but I think like you could also take like art classes, and that's like equally beneficial.
Yeah. And would any of you want to try learning a new sport? If so, like which one and why?
I learned golf for like 1 year and I quit because I was so bad. But I really want to learn again, and also basketball. I love basketball to watch, but I don't have like talent for basketball. But I want to learn.
Scarlett?
Um, last year I played golf for Sunny Hills and it was a really good experience. So I think branching out and trying different sports is really beneficial because like you never know what you're really good at until you try it. And if you never branch out and try different sports, you might be confined to like your sport and you might suck at it and you will never know at it or you'll never know. But if you try a lot of different sports, you could find your true passion and talents.
Yuna?
What was the question?
Would you try any like new sport? If so, like which one and why?
I think it's too late for me to like try a new sport because I know that when you're younger, if you learn a sport, it's better for you. But if I did start, I want to start tennis or volleyball because I really like volleyball and tennis is also like really fun too.
Kaylin?
Oh, for me personally, like I was thinking like over the past few years that I should have played basketball when I was a child because like Una said, it's harder to learn a sport as you got older. And I really wanted, and I think I should have learned basketball because when I was younger, I used to be like really tall. So
Yeah,
but it's not too late.
if I like had to play a new sport, I would also choose basketball because I really like watching it. And next question, what percent of students are involved in sports at your school?
I think in our school, like most of the students are part of it. I think like 85%, because I don't know. Like in our school, I don't know like if any other schools are, but in our school they required for 4 years to have a sports. So I'm not sure, but I think like most of the people are take having like any of sports or like weight training at least. So
Yuna?
Um, so for my school, people who do sports, they get to go home early, and I noticed like a huge change in like people in the hallways when after fifth and sixth, because you know they all went home. So I think about like half, no, that's actually too much. 40% of the school probably does sports.
Hmm. Anyone else? I feel like our school, a lot of people play sports, but since I don't play sports, I'm not really like aware of like the percentage. But next question, do you think students should prioritize sports over academics?
I think it really depends on how well you are at that sport, because if you're like a beginner level or intermediate and you know in the middle one, then you shouldn't like really like stop studying because that's not worth it because you never know what might happen. But if you're like really advanced, then I think maybe you should.
Yeah, I agree. And Kaylin, do you want to share?
Yeah. So I think it's important to have like a balance in everything, like for example, sports and academics. But like Ina said, especially if you don't see yourself like playing that sport in the future, you might put less priorities on it if you need to study for something.
Anyone have a different opinion? Then we'll move on. Do you think some sports like football are too dangerous for children or even adults?
I think football poses a lot of potential neural damage because I know that a lot of players can suffer concussions and which can damage various different parts of the brain. But I don't think that should stop you. I think they should just implement safer methods in football because if you're passionate about the sport, then you should just find a way to overcome those obstacles.
Anyone else?
I think so too. But like similarly in soccer, I've seen like a lot of kids' soccer teams have banned like heading, for example, for under age 11 because it poses a lot of risks, like especially in the future if you continue to play that sport in the future.
Julie?
A lot of my friends got injured from football, so I think it is a dangerous sport, but I think if you guys like if they do like in more safer ways, I think it will be fine.
Yeah. And next question, why do you think some sports are more popular to watch or play? I think for our school, it's because like some sports like basketball and football, like a lot of people go and it's like a tradition of people going and like the student board and like the ASB going to, but like other sports, like not a lot of people go. So what's like your opinion on it? Maybe Yuna?
So this is coming from a golfer, but I think golf, like necessarily, it's not too exciting to watch unless like you really understand the rules and you're a golfer yourself. But for something like football, it's like fast paced. People are moving a lot more than golf, so I think maybe like the more people move, the better it's to watch.
Yeah. Kaylin?
Yeah, I think so too. I think like a lot of contact sports like basketball and maybe even soccer are more popular. And I think it's also because those teams have like a lot more players and your friends could be on there too.
I think something else that kind of adds to that is like the crowd aspect of it, because traditionally a lot of sports like golf or tennis, like they don't like really allow a lot of spectators because it could distract the players. But I think for basketball and football, I think the crowd kind of increases their performance because they have that positive stress that they have to perform well under.
And next question, what are some advantages from sports and what are some disadvantages of playing sports? Julie?
I think the benefit from sports could be a teamwork and like learn to communicate or like respect for authority, leadership skills, or like time management. But some of the disadvantage could be like takes a lot of like it could be tired a lot, like too much time to get like practices. Yeah.
Then like since you played a lot of sports, like what was like your tip of like having good time management of like academics and sports?
Um, I usually like make a time to play sports and like study at like I schedule like in the morning to play sports like oh I'm gonna play sports until like 5 p.m. and then I'm gonna go home and then like study for my works. I think I'm like really like scheduling, so I think,
Anyone else?
I'm adding on, I think like an advantage of sports is that it could like potentially create your career path. So once again, like if you're really good at it, colleges can like come scout you and you could actually be like professional.
Then do you think like players who don't commit to college with their sports, do you think it's necessary for them to play that sports for like all 4 years of high school? Or like should they just not play and give up if they're not gonna commit to college with it?
I don't think that the primary motivation to play sports should be committing to a college, because there's also that passion aspect of it. If you're really passionate about the sport and that's your kind of release of your positive energy, I think that's really important. And also the dedication to that team and seeing that you've been on it for 4 years is also appealing to colleges, whether or not you're committing for that sport to colleges, it can be beneficial to put on your application. And also it just creates like a community. I know that a lot of sports teams, they're really close to one another, and being around the same people for 4 years can build a really strong camaraderie.
And Kaylin, do you think there are some advantages and disadvantages?
Yeah, I think like you guys touched on most of the advantages and disadvantages, but like definitely like making new friends and getting outside your comfort zone, and also like taking time away from things like academics and other things. But I think that one disadvantage could be that if you're playing it like every single day and also especially competitively, you might get tired of that sport. But it's a good thing to figure out like what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, I agree because if you do something like every day, you can get sick of it and actually lose that passion. And that actually happens to me many times. Like, you have to go because like it's a practice, and then when you have to do something, you just don't want to do it. That kind of feeling.
Yes, and we'll move on to the next question. Do you think professional athletes should be role models of children?
I think it doesn't have to be like role models for children, but like to respect any professional athletes will be good for children, because if they might like interested in any sports, they could like respect any athletes who are really professional.
Yeah, I think they don't have to be like role models, but they can really give like motivations for children to like work harder. You not do to share.
Um, I think they could be role models because some families they watch like football every Sunday, and the children grow up in that environment and they just look up to that player, and even especially if they do sports themselves, they would probably want to be like them.
Scarlett?
I think it's super important to have role models in the sport you play, because you're looking to the superlative player of that sport, and if you have nothing that you're working towards, then there's like a really big lack of motivation. But if you see like the potential that you can have in the professional level of your sport, I think it'll really motivate you to be the best that you can at your age.
Kaylin?
Yeah, I think so too. Like not only for the skills, but also like for the social aspect, like having good sportsmanship and a good attitude toward your sport, and having things like dedication and good connections.
Yeah, I'll add on one more question. To anyone who plays sports besides Julie, because I already asked this question, but like what are some of your tips that you have while like playing sports and also managing your time and academics together? Scarlett, do you want to share?
Yeah. So I used to, or like I still do, but I struggle with time management, and I think dancing so much has really played a big part in that. But what I found is just to, with any time you have, prioritize getting your work done, and then I'd say start your homework in school. Because if when you get home and you're all tired from your sport, you're gonna see that you're like, oh, it is possible to get some of my homework done, and rather than staring at a blank piece of paper, you'll have that extra motivation to get your work done faster.
Yuna?
I think another tip is that consistency is key because even if you miss one practice, that can like really take a big toll on your skill.
And Kaylin?
Yeah, I think so too. And like especially finding that balance between schoolwork and practice, whatever that means for you.
And what about your mental health? Like while you play the sports, like how do you manage with your mental health if you like stress too much by having to like manage all your assignments? And like how do you work with your mental health when you have like too much assignments and you're too stressed that you have to like handle just too many things?
For me, I don't get stressed a lot because of like works, but for me, like playing sports made me more like healthier and like to take in positive way. So I think playing a sport can be like good part of the mental health for students.
Does anyone like do get stressed a lot by like all the assignments that are like that have to get completed?
I do get stressed about that, and I think that it can be stressful thinking, oh, like I have this practice and I won't be able to get it done. But you could also look at the practice as a way to release that stress because you know that like exercise is the body's natural response to stress. So you could use that to your advantage and think, okay, after this, I'll be less stressed and be more relaxed and more motivated to do my work and just have that mindset and get your work done.
Mm-hmm. And anyone else?
I think so too. Like, I feel like I agree with Scarlett, where like exercise in its own way is like a really way to release stress, and another way is like sometimes you just need to take a break and like come back to it, think about like what you need to get done, and set your priorities.
Yuna, do you wanna add on?
Um, I think I'm contradicting myself with this, but like if you really are stressed out and you're like you just can't like you're like really stressed out, then I think it's okay to practice at it's okay to cancel at least like one practice because like you probably won't I don't perform that well on a sport and when I'm stressed out.
Yeah, sounds good. And that concludes this month's podcast. Thank you for listening.